Meanwhile, getting ready for another big foreign leader coming to the United States, Angela Merkel of Germany, after the wildly successful trip of Emmanuel Macron of France. And the charm offensive that the president has had, can it top that bromance that quickly developed with the French leader, to presidential historian Doug Wead? You know, we see the oddest thing, Doug, and I know you've written about this sort of stuff with prior presidents. This was not a relationship that was expected to be very promising, but it ended up being quite, the bond. Not so much with the German leader when she comes to town. What's the deal?
Yeah, that's right. My wife's French, so she's in France right now, and I've gone there every year since the 1970s, except maybe one. And Macron has used some of Trump's ideas. You can see that he's not buying this. Trump lucked into the White House. He sees some of his political techniques and appeal to the people and some of his dog whistles. And so Macron feels that Trump's kind of plugged in to some new politics, branding and other things. And so there's a genuine intrigue there. And you're right, Angela Merkel, not so much. But they're going to be our friends because they want our money.
Nah. You know, I do wonder, sometimes the oddest of politicians make the strangest of bedfellows. And, of course, you mentioned that about Macron. There was much the same said at the time, what started as a rocky relationship between John Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev that ended up cementing some major missile deals at the time. But it didn't start out that way. So maybe this, what we're told is a chilly relationship between the president and the German leader. Now, she's an ally. Germany's an ally. I know there's a big difference there. That won't pan out. That won't be such a negative thing.
Yeah. I'll tell you how it's linked to money. Europe has grown rich. America has grown poor. The wealth has moved to Europe. It's moved to China. It's moved to India somewhat. America has grown poor in trade. So Angela Merkel comes, Macron comes, UK comes. They say, you need to be nice to Europe. You're losing your popularity with Europe. It's because they don't want the trade to be renegotiated. They like what's happened, and they don't want to pay for more of their own defense. And Trump is saying, you're going to have to pay for more in NATO. And they want us to clean up the environment without requiring African nations or Asian nations to do anything to reduce emissions. And so it's all about money. If we pay the Europeans money, they like us. If we don't pay them, the New York Times will say, well, Trump's not very popular in Europe.
But, you could make the argument, certainly in Germany's case, they've got money. They're not in short supply of that. France, of course, has had some economic problems.
Which is Trump's point. That's Trump's point.
Exactly. And I'm just wondering how he's being received. You talked about Macron. These are two leaders who a couple of years ago didn't seem to have any shot at the offices they're in, yet here they are. And I'm wondering now whether the new world order is populist, outside the mainstream. What?
Yeah, there is some change. I was just in France a couple weeks ago, and I'm in talking with people. There's some change and understanding of globalism and the international economy and how it works. And the American Federal Reserve that just dumped money into both Europe and South Korea. There's a beginning of an understanding, but hey, it's linked to money. The flight attendant will say, put on your own mask first and then assist your child. And Trump has hit on the point that the United States needs oxygen. We got to put our own mask on first. And yes, we'll help clean up the planet, and we'll help keep Germany safe, and we want Europe to be rich, but it's time for America to put on its own mask, and he's renegotiating these deals. They aren't going to run away. They need us, and they need our money, but when you have to pay people to be your friend, at what point is that friendship?
No, it's a good one. I read the English version of Le Monde, of course, the French press, and they still have a sort of a dismissive view of Donald Trump, and actually a dismissive view of their own leader and how he kowtowed to Donald Trump. Now, it depends on the article, but the editorial certainly came out that way. And I'm wondering here where this goes, because he's been in office more than a year, Macron about a year, and it is what it is, but they still seem to fight. I guess like a lot of people fight it here.
Yeah, they want that Paris Accord. But, you know, the last time that idea was really tested with the American people was in 1997, and that was the Byrd-Hagel resolution. And it was very clear, 95 senators, including John Kerry, voted unanimously, 95-0, that we would not support accords that did not require developing nations to also reduce their emission. It makes no sense. It sounds great, the Paris Accords, but once the American people know what's really involved in it, they can't buy it. Of course, France wants America to clean up pollution in Africa and India, and they'll like us if we do that, but we've got to get on our own feet first.
All right, Doug Wead, thank you very, very much, my friend.
Thanks, Neil.
A little